And welcome back, guys. We're here inside the Best Western in Ardmore, Oklahoma, getting ready for Southern Oklahoma Speedway tomorrow night with High Limit Racing. Wanted to go over the power rankings here after what we're calling week number 3. We haven't done power rankings, obviously, in probably close to 2 months because we've had so much time off with High Limit Racing. But we have them ready to go for you here. We're going to write the numbers of the drivers on the board because due to my current setup with my whiteboard sitting on top of my suitcase, it's going to be a little bit tough to write the driver's name on the board. So we're going to go with the numbers here today, and we're going to talk about each driver, where they're at, and why I think that they have either gone up or gone down here in these power rankings. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So we're talking about the 3 races from Texas Motor Speedway, RPM Speedway, and Red Dirt Raceway. And it should have been 4 races at Texarkana, or actually should have been 5 races at Riverside as well. But instead, we're doing these 3 races. And then after the races at Southern Oklahoma, Salina, and at Riverside, we'll do more power rankings next week. So let's jump into it. So 10th on the power rankings and moving down 2 positions since the last time we did them. The handwriting's going to be pretty bad. I've got Parker Price Miller right now in the 10th position in my power rankings. His finishes of 18th, 16th, and 4th. Not exactly very consistent here over these last 3 races. He's currently 8th in High Limit Racing point standings after having a good start to the year. Obviously, he was up in the 8th position prior to this on the power rankings. But, Parker Price Miller, one of the 4 drivers with High Limit that did not race a single time during the break, the 6-week break between Golden Isles and the first race back at Texas. And I think it kind of showed that he was a little bit rusty maybe. And he had finishes outside the top 15 2 straight nights. But then he had a really good run at Red Dirt Raceway 2 nights ago, especially in that heat race. He drove right past Kyle Larson, put himself into the dash, and then stayed in the top 5 the entire race and nearly got himself a podium. So had a good rebound there at Red Dirt Raceway. We'll see what he can do over the next couple of races here and see if he can move back up the power rankings. But right now, -2 at 10th place is Parker Price Miller. 9th in the power rankings and currently 10th in the High Limit Racing point standings. We've got Justin Peck in car number 13. So Peck finishes of 21st, 19th, and 5th over the last 3 races. And those 2 finishes of 21st and 19th, not exactly part of his doing. He had one night where a tire or a bleeder went bad in one of the tires. Another one, he got caught up in somebody else's mistake. I want to say that was at RPM. And then the other night at Red Dirt, it looked like the speed that we normally see out of Justin Peck and the Buick Motorsports 13. He got into an incident in the heat race. I mean, I'm talking about bad luck here between him and another driver we'll talk about here in a moment. But he got into an incident in the heat race, got upside down, had to go to the work area, couldn't make it out of the heat race. So he ran the B, won the B main, and then drove from 21st all the way to 5th. So we know that the speed is there in the 13 car, but we have to kind of take in the results, and we got to take in the speed, and we got to combine them into the power rankings. And so with those bad, races, those bad finishes, those bad results, we have Justin Peck moving down 4 positions since the last time we did the power rankings. And I have no doubt that once they can get some luck on their side, they're going to move back up this board. But as you could tell just from the 10th and the points thing, it's been a really rough stretch of races. They had 2 good races at Golden Isles on the podium both nights. But, man, can Justin Peck have the worst? I mean, he's got the worst luck out of anybody else in the High Limit Racing series. So Justin Peck, -4 to 9th in the power rankings and currently 10th overall in the point standings. Next on the list and dropping 4 positions is Spencer Baston in car number 5. So Baston, his finishes of 13th, 10th, and 12th, not exactly the speed that we saw out of the CJB Motorsports car after the first 4 races. He was one of just a handful of drivers that had been in the top 10 in every race to start the season, but that has definitely fallen off. He was 13th at Texas, 10th at RPM, and then 12th at Red Dirt. And that race at Red Dirt, he actually got into an incident, had to come out of the work area with a flat right rear tire. He came back to finish that 12th spot. So, Spencer Baston, he has the speed early in the night right now, but the speed and the feature seems to be where they're struggling a little bit. He moves down 4 positions, down to 8th in the power rankings. He is still 6th in points, right there in the mix for one of those charter spots. But I just felt like there was some more drivers ahead of him that were running more consistently, throughout the entire night and as well as in the feature, which is most important. And so they were able to move past him. So Spencer Bayston 8th in the power rankings and 6th right now in high limit racing point standings. Now moving up to 7th on the power rankings board, it's going to be Zeb Wise. So Zeb Wise, very consistent over the last couple of races. He did get into an incident, which was not his fault at all. He was 8th at Texas, 8th at RPM, and then he was 19th at Red Dirt after starting on the pole. He was quick time in his group at Red Dirt. He won the dash. He started on the pole. He led a couple laps in that feature event. But then, he got into an incident between Parker Price Miller, Brad Sweet, and Rico Abreu. Out of all 4 of those guys that got into that wreck, he was the only one that spun into the infield and had to go to the tail end. So he finished 19th, but we know that the speed is good on the 26 car for Zeb Wise. So I got him 7th right now, +3 from 10th to 7th, and I really like what I'm seeing out of this team right now because they kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. They were decent at East Bay, but they really, really struggled at Golden Isle Speedway, and so that's kind of why they were lower on the power rankings, but they're coming back up at +3 right now for the 26, 7th in the rankings, and 9th in the overall point standings for the Rudine Racing 26. Now moving up to 6th on the power rankings board, we've got Rico Abreu. So Rico, would you believe it if I told you he only has one top 5 finish to start the high limit racing season? We ran 7 races, and Rico's only been in the top 5 one time. His finishes of 7th, 21st, and 7th have him staying in the same spot as where he was in week number 2. So he came in 6th in power rankings. He will leave week 3 with the 6th position as well. He's currently 7th in the overall point standings, triple digits out of the race for the points lead. So Rico's really got to get things going. He shows decent speed at Texas. He showed decent speed at Red Dirt Raceway, but he got upside down at RPM, and when he did that, he was not in the top 10. He was running around 14th, 15th, 16th, got upside down, was about to go a lap down in that race. So the speed is kind of all over the map right now for Rico, but he's still decent enough to stay where he started at in these power rankings at 6th overall, and he's currently 7th in the point standings with high limit racing. So now moving into the top 5 and moving up 4 positions since the last time we did this is going to be Jacob Allen. So Jacob Allen with really good runs here over this stretch of races. His finishes of 4th, 3rd, and 13th have catapulted him up to the top 5 in the overall high limit racing point standings and 5th in the current power rankings. So Jacob Allen, he led laps at Texas Motor Speedway. He was in the mix at RPM. And then what could have been for him at Red Dirt Raceway, he was in the last transfer, or not the last transfer spot, he was in 3rd on the last corner in the heat race, and then got kind of over the cushion, maybe some contact with Brent Marks. There definitely was some contact there, but he got knocked over the cushion and fell out of a transfer spot there, and then could not get through the B main, was 3 wide across the line for the last transfer in the B main, could not get that, had to take a provisional, started 25th, and drove it up to 13th. So that goes to show that the speed is still there for Jacob Allen, and I think he would have easily had a top 10 finish if he did not get into that heat race incident. And so I really like what I'm seeing from this team right now. Jacob looks extremely good. He looks like he is very focused and determined to have a good run and maybe get one of these charter positions by the end of the year. So Jacob Allen, +4. He goes from 9th up to 5th. After the first week of power rankings, he wasn't even in the top 10. But now he's all the way into the top 5 and looking very, very solid. So moving up to 4th in the overall power rankings, at least this is all in my opinion, obviously, we're going to have Corey Day. So Corey Day +3 to 4th in the power rankings. And some of you might be saying, well, Chase, he won 2 races in a row. How is he not at the top of the point standings with these power rankings? Well, I feel like Corey Day obviously is very, very, very good on the smaller racetracks right now. But when it comes to the bigger tracks, I'm not quite convinced on the speed that they have right now in that car. He was 9th at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track. And then remember back to Golden Isle Speedway, he wasn't even in the top 10 of either of those races. So we know that he is extremely good on the small tracks. Back to East Bay, I mean, he almost won a race there. And he's got 2 wins at RPM and at Red Dirt. So Corey Day, the next time we go out tomorrow night at Southern Oklahoma Speedway, he will be looking for the hat trick, 3 races and 3 wins in a row. He moves up 3 spots in the power rankings. There is no doubt that this guy is one of the most exciting to watch on the racetrack. he is the equivalent of Sheldon Haudenschild, you know, when it comes to the Outlaws, and then Corey Day is his equivalent here with High Limit Racing. He is quickly becoming a fan favorite, and he is unbelievably fast, and maybe proving me wrong as a potential threat for this championship by the time the year comes to a close. So he's currently 3rd in High Limit Racing points and 4th in the power rankings, and if he can have another good run, he could be up here in these top 2 positions by the time we, you know, do week 4 power rankings. Next up, 3rd in the power rankings, moving down 1 position since the last time, is Brent Marks. That is the worst 9 of all time. You guys know, if you watch this channel on a regular basis, my handwriting not the best, but Brent Marks losing 1 spot down to 3rd in the 3rd in the High Limit Racing, 3rd in the power rankings, and he's 4th in High Limit Racing points. So his finishes of 6th, 9th, and 3rd are pretty good. He's still, him and Brad Sweet, the only 2 drivers that have been in the top 10 for every single High Limit Racing event in 2024 so far. And Brent Marks has been extremely good. I mean, he was super strong at RPM, got that podium finish, and then at Texas and Red Dirt, he was 3rd. Those other 2 tracks, he was right there in the top 10 as well. Just super consistent. Hasn't really been in contention for a victory in these last 3 races, but Brent Marks has definitely, you know, proven that he can get it done on the small tracks. He even said in you know, his podium interview the other night that the bull rings are not quite his strong suit, but I mean, he's still able to find good finishes out of those races. And Brent Marks has been a really, really fun guy to watch so far this year, and a very good addition to this series, and a very recognizable name. He currently sits 3rd in the Week 3 power rankings. Now moving up to 2nd and moving back up to that 2nd spot, +1, is Brad Sweet. So Brad Sweet, crazy to think that he still does not have a win with High Limit Racing 7 races into the season. His finishes in this span that we're talking about here today: a 3rd at Texas, a 5th at RPM, and an 8th at Red Dirt. Now, the crazy thing is, I feel like that Brad Sweet was kind of in the mix for a win at the beginning of all of these races, but then fades back, is not able to capture that win. You know, he, especially at Red Dirt, it looked like he was going to get the win at Red Dirt. It looked like he had the best car early on in that feature event, but something happened. I mean, there was so much action going on. It was hard to keep track of everybody, what was going on. And he fell all the way back to the 8th position and loses quite a bit of points to Tyler Courtney and even more points to Corey Day. So Brad Sweet still really solid. We know what this guy can do. We know he's going to have an average finish of around 5th or 6th throughout the entire year, but still not able to get a win, and really not at the end of the races, is not in contention fighting for one of these victories. So which is just kind of crazy to think about. But, you know, still 2nd in points, 2nd in the power rankings, and still very, very consistent for Brad Sweet. And I think you know where I'm going with number 1 on this list, and that being Tyler Courtney. So Tyler Courtney, once again, staying at the top of the power rankings. He's been there ever since the very first race of the year at East Bay Raceway Park. In this time span, he finished 2nd at Texas, 7th at RPM, and 2nd at Red Dirt Raceway. He's currently 1st in the overall point standings with High Limit. He's got a pretty sizable lead. I want to say it's over 30 points is the lead now for Tyler Courtney over Brad Sweet, and he has just been unbelievable, man. I mean, I think those finishes of 2nd and 2nd, I believe he's now been on the podium in 5 races so far with High Limit Racing. The first race at East Bay, he was outside the top 10, and the other one was at RPM where he finished 7th. The rest of them on the podium, inside the top 3. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from this team, what they've put together so far, and they have quickly become, in my opinion, the championship favorite. If they can keep this speed up, the one thing I will say is when they get to California, it's a lot of races on the West Coast that Tyler Courtney has never been to, a lot of tracks he's never been to, but Brad Sweet has been there, Corey Day has been to those places, and those guys are obviously really consistent and they're very good. So, man, I can't wait to see how the championship plays out when we get to races like that, get to a busy stretch of races in California on the bull rings. But Tyler Courtney right now, he has asserted the dominance, not only in the points, but here in the power rankings as well. And it looks like they have no sign of slowing down that NOS Energy Drink 7 BC. So that's what we got here in the power rankings. The next time we'll do this will be after Riverside Speedway next Tuesday night. Those races in that power rankings will include Southern Oklahoma, Salina, and Riverside for the second race of the Midweek Money Series. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know, am I wrong? Where would you have these guys in your top 10? Let me know down in the comment section below. hit that subscribe button. It is free. And hit the like button as well. We appreciate all your guys' support. We'll be back later on today. We'll have a video documenting and previewing the race from Salina High Bank Speedway on Saturday night for race number 9 with High Limit Racing in 2024. We'll see you guys then. Thank you so much.